Okay, core enhancements, let's jump into those. So how have we changed GP with 2016? And you'll see that there's a lot of coordination between modules here. Purchasing requisitions, for those of you who aren't familiar with requisitions or have never used them, essentially they are a pre-purchase order request from anyone. So anyone we want to set up as a self-service user can put in a request or a requisition. It uses workflow to go through an approval process and get approved, and then the PO can be created from that automatically. So that was in 2015. So what they've done with 2016 is they've actually added in the project number and the cost category ID. Now, a lot of the clients that we work with do not choose to use the project modules because that's not the stream of their business. But a lot of organizations will have efforts within the organization. They'll have something as simple as a Christmas party that they want to track costs for, and we can go set that project and cost categories up, and then allow people to do requisitions to spend money and gather that into that project. So seen a lot of people use it that way. In addition to that, we can use it just for plain old employee expenses relating to transactions that we're reimbursing our employees for. So doc attach for project expenses basically allows us to be able to tag that project expense with a picture of a receipt or a file or a contract that deals with that expense itself, so that now when they turn in their expenses, they can also turn in the receipts with that. That's a huge one. I know we've gotten requests for that over the years significantly. Prepay on a purchase order, that came out with 2015, and gives you the ability to include a payment with the prevalence of credit cards and P-cards. People are doing a lot more purchasing outside of the internal accounting department, and so once we get that PO, if we've done a deposit on it or if we have already paid for it and already gotten it, but we want to use the system to do the PO, we can record that payment as well with it, and we're going to take a look at that here in a minute. Multiple page scan for doc attach. With 2015, doc attach allowed us to scan documents, including the AP transaction, but we couldn't scan multiple documents with it. And 2016, they've allowed us to do multiple page scanning and attaching that document to a voucher, for instance. And so that's a really big thing, because I can get all my invoices, stack them up, slide them all into the scanner at one time, have it multi-feed, load in all those documents, do my data entry and attachment at the same time. And of course that saves me the time from then getting up and walking over and having to file all those documents that are already filed. And when I use doc attach, it's stored with SQL Server. So it is not stored separately out there in a directory somewhere. It's actually stored with the document in SQL Server. So if I ever had to go through a disaster recovery, I'm restoring all my documents right along with SQL Server. Okay. Smart List enhancements. I know we've had several calls over the years with Smart List. When I export a Smart List to Excel, it actually sends out the numbers as a text field, and so it makes it very difficult to sum things up. And that has now been corrected with 2016. So if I want to go slide in a couple of rows, insert a couple of new rows, and put a summary in there, that's very easy to do. Change workflow approval conditions. Probably not many of you have dug into the workflow process, but it is very effective, and they've made some corrections. Basically, there was a hole that if a workflow didn't meet the criteria, then that arm of the workflow would just stop. And now they've given us the ability to say, if this arm fails, then go here and continue on through the workflow. So a very necessary improvement, but also a good one. It's pretty capable. Enable credit card payment type for check run processing. Again, a lot of people are using P-cards now. A lot of people are paying things with credit cards, especially expenses and things like that. So we're going to take a look at that and the new form of payment for the check run batch. They have increased the distribution reference field size, I think from 75 to 150, something like that. And for those of you, I know there's some out there who've requested being able to use the Scotiabank EFT format, which is essentially Canadian EFT format. It is now set out there as a standard, as a pre-done format. We don't have to jimmy that anymore and make the U.S. one work for Canada. And I've gotten this request over the years as well. A lot of people will take big payments, but not that many of them, and really they just go deposit that payment. So if that's the case for you, it allows you to skip over the top of the deposit process, where you're assigning the cash receipts to the deposit itself, and be able to just have that cash receipt show up in the bank rec as if it was a single document on a deposit. So you get to skip that whole gathering up the cash receipts into a deposit. So let's take a look at some of those pieces and parts. Oh, went too fast. So if I jump back over to my demo over here, if I hit on project, then I can go to employee expense entry, and that essentially you'll notice that the attach button is there, so I can hit that and assign. Let me see if I can get. Hang on, I'm going to need a document. I don't have a document. Let me just look at it with a AP side. So I know I've got a vendor. So this is the doc attach screen, and you'll see there's an attachment already there. And once I attach something, I can view that forever. I can store that. I do store that with SQL Server, and I can attach it and forget about it. So on the project side, then, that just allows us to, from there forward, be able to put in receipts with my expenses. And yes, that works through the web client as well. So if I'm entering my expenses on my iPad in the hotel on Wednesday night, and I've taken pictures of the receipts throughout that day, I can simply attach those files to my timesheet, and then it all goes through the approval process and comes into GP with those files already attached to it. So that's the document attached for project expenses. On the purchase order itself, you'll notice right down here is a prepayment field that allows me to record that credit card transaction where I had to put down a $200 deposit on the big air compressor, or if I just bought the air compressor outright, I can go ahead and put in my prepayment either as a credit card or a check if I had a handheld check, or cash. And in 2015, it would let you record up to the subtotal. With 2016, it now includes the total, so the total for everything. Clearly an improvement that needed to be made, but I know that a lot of people had not seen that prepayment aspect from the purchase order, so I wanted to include that out here today as well. And then the credit card processing on a AP batch. So if I go look at my there we go, my AP batches, and I pick I just set up a quick batch here called ASI. You'll notice right here there are some new options. Obviously I can do EFT, right? That was there before, but now I can do credit card as well. and then I can pick my credit card name, and both types of credit cards work. There's two types in GP, and from there on, it's as though I was putting in a manual payment for a credit card, and it updates the vendors just like it would if you were doing a manual payment. So that's everything I pay with ASI, that batch, every invoice that I select to pay, it's going to see it as paid by the bank card. Okay, so that saves me a lot of trouble. If you're not doing EFT payments that way, you probably need to look into that as well. But it gives me the capability to record those payments without having to actually go in and manually do the entry. Okay, all right, so that's enable credit card payment type for check run processing. We're going to jump back over to the presentation side here. And we're going to talk a little bit about business intelligence. One of the things that I know we've been asking for years, and they're finally delivering it, there's an all-in-one document viewer, and we're going to take a look at that in a second, because the 2016 enhancements were really for the sales documents and the inventory documents. The purchasing document all-in-one viewer actually came out with 2015 R2. So we'll take a quick look at those, let you get a feel for them. We can now export and import smart lists. So if I want to change things with my smart lists, I can now export and import those and share them with other users, and do backups. That's if you've ever had your favorite smart lists go away on you, this is a great way to just export them one time, and then down the road, if you have a problem, you can just re-import all of your favorite smart lists. You can now create a smart list from an existing favorite. So if you've gone through the time to create a favorite on your smart list and save it, you can now just create a new smart list off of that favorite. And Power BI charts on the GP Role Center. I want to talk about Power BI just a little bit. Power BI is an independent product from Microsoft, so it is a Microsoft product, but it's not necessarily related to GP. And that's Microsoft's answer for dashboarding. And for 15 years, I've heard people talk about dashboarding, and it's never really gotten there until Power BI. So Power BI is kind of an independent tool. It works on the cloud. It doesn't require you to be logged into the network. It has full charting capabilities, and you can, under a subscription, which is reasonably priced, you can build out charts based on multiple sets of data. So you can use your GP data and at the same time go hit that health system or your inventory management system that's outside of GP. So it doesn't really matter. You can combine multiple sources of data. We're going to go take a look at that, at the all-in-one piece real quick. So you'll notice I'm right here in purchasing. Here is my under inquiry. Here is my purchasing all-in-one view. So if you guys are out there on 2015 R2, you should have that already. And basically all three screens work exactly the same. So if I come out here and I pick a vendor, it shows me not only their history, everything that they've ever done, but I can right-click up here on the upper right-hand corner, and it shows me everything related to that transaction. So you'll notice these are all pretty much just straight-up invoices through AP, so there is no receipt or payment on them. This is demo data, bear with me. But it just gives you the ability to pick a vendor and then see the entire process all the way across the screen. Plus, I can drill in. If I'm not sure what it is, I can drill in and open up that invoice and be able to see that. So if I go to the sales side now, basically that's that same process except for sales. So here's my sales all in one view, and I can go pick a customer. and see all of the transactions that relate to that. So it is customer based, so when a customer calls, this is really the purpose behind it. When a customer calls, I can see everything we've ever done with them right out of the chute. Once I narrow down what I'm actually looking for, if I'm looking for that transaction, here's the order that created it. It's still an open document. I can tell that because there are no cash receipts against it. But if there was a quote done on that, it would show here, or a cash receipt would show here, and I can drill into each individual one. So that's what they mean by all-in-one. I can see all the related documents around any particular transaction if I know one piece of the transaction. So if I want to see everything that's related to that order, I've got one invoice. Okay, so a really good query tool to be able to have all the documents in front of you, be able to see all the different invoices that were created from a particular order and all the different cash receipts that came against it, and all the credits and returns as well, as long as we're applying that to that sales order.